This is episode 81. Once again, been a little while, I think, since we recorded one. Obviously, you guys see that this is a Discord episode, because as you might have seen on Twitter, we went through the big move that we've been talking about in the last few episodes. Obviously, moving into a new spot for us and trying to figure out a way to record here in the best way is tough. So we thought we masterminded something in the new living room to act as our duct tape for this playoff run. But USB cord didn't stretch to the PC, so
Yeah, we may have to get a little drill out or something. I don't know, figure something out to get it.
put a
'Cause
hole in a
honestly,
wall.
like that vibe in there was very cozy. You would have got some very cozy takes from us in there, honestly.
Well, it was a little like NYCFC forever action on the couch. I can see, what that being an important part of a set potentially that we use in the future, especially with the extra couches that we have now. So
Yeah,
we'll
I mean we
we'll
literally
see.
have our two old couches out on our new patio, and yeah, neighbors love it. We went out there and the neighbor was using it, so um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things that broke literally today before we even decided to record. So it's good that we didn't end up recording yesterday like we wanted to. Um, but yeah, just going into last game, it was a good result, but it was very costly in the sense that we lost some guys potentially for this playoff run, or at least for pieces of the playoff run, depending on how deep this team can go. And a lot of people are speculating with these players gone that our ceiling is lower.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's once again we're getting to the part where you're losing a key player in every third of the field. We have Tales, who I believe the final ruling on it was the dislocated shoulder from falling on the turf. We don't need to get too deep into the turf conversation, but I feel like now, and especially with the NFL, which we're massive fans of, like the conversation of turf is louder than it's ever been, and I think especially for soccer, when it's the full 90 minutes, it's even more so opening players to a ton of injuries, and obviously 10 out of 10 times, I'd rather play on the grass at Yankee Stadium than, on the turf at Atlanta, on the turf at the Revs, I think, have turf as well. And a few of these key places around the stadium, it just feels like, something has to be done in every sport to avoid this turf, because it's taking like the most valuable players out of games.
Yeah, and even players who are not stars that are key parts of their own team, losing them is a tragedy as well. I mean, I go back to playing sports myself, and I remember loving turf just because you would feel faster, feel better, and everything like that. But you were never at a level where you could seriously injure yourself, so there was only benefits. But there's a level of athlete where their body is so in tune and so fast and so built that the turf just can't keep up with it. Those type of bodies need a surface that can give as much as it takes. So yeah, it sucks. And with the Tallest thing, I mean, Dalvin Cook dislocated his shoulder and wore a harness and got hit by 300-pound people the next week.
Mm-hmm.
I would say pop it back in, get some antibiotics and play through it,
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest takeaway, and obviously we have the Atlanta and then before that the Orlando game to talk about, which we haven't yet during an episode. But I think in both, the massive thing to me was recovering from adversity, or living through adversity, by the end of the game. We have obviously in the Orlando game, I believe we went down 1-0 early and then ended up stealing the 3 points, which at that point put us into third place, because Red Bull had dropped points, I think, to Columbus. But that's massive to do it when something like third place is on the line, whether or not the players knew at that moment. But they know at this point of the season that literally every point and every result matters a lot more than it did previously. So I like to see us fighting through adversity, when we're down 1-0, and then in the Atlanta game, the adversity of the injuries, the adversity of, after losing key players like that, we're up 2-0, and what we really need to do at this point to secure home field or secure our spot, um, is to close that game out, and we get a goal scored on us, and luckily we were able to hold on and fight through that and not allow us to drop points, maybe get 1 point, and who knows really how the table could have shaken up at that point, if we don't make a stand on decision day against a team that honestly in important games has always given us trouble. Like Atlanta has given us trouble in the past. It's one of those teams where it doesn't matter what their squad's like, where they're at in the table. Like we're gonna have a dogfight against them, and that's how it goes, really.
Yeah, and I mean it's that adversity that's gonna have to carry us to whatever we want to do in these playoffs because, we lose Tavon potentially, which I mean, there's worse things to happen when you have potentially our best right back right behind him that just needs fitness. Um, and Alfredo, that's probably the biggest loss if Talles can't go. And so it's going to be the adversity of next man up. But that was really the I guess the story of last season. So I hate to be one of those guys that's like it happened before, it can happen again. But what else can you say in that situation?
I mean, I think in a way we got a good draw in terms of opponent. I mean, there were a lot of different teams flying around. Through these last 3 weeks, I mean, I think our opponent shuffled like 3 to 4 times. I mean, we could have, at one point we could have gotten Montreal if these games go the wrong way. We could have gotten Philly if these games go the wrong way. Red Bulls obviously would have been a nightmare in the first round, regardless of how much we dunk on them. Like that would have been scary. Um,
It would have been great for
and
us
then
though. Personally,
yeah,
we
I
would
mean,
drive 15 minutes down the road and go see him.
although the Mets couldn't close it out, so they probably would have flipped it. We would have been so happy for it to play in Connecticut just to have it rescheduled to City Field.
Yeah.
Um, but at least I think even if that was to happen, and even with this happening, somehow I think what we found out that RBA is actually closer than City Field, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which
For us, yeah, Red Bull Arena is now closer than City Field, but it's like a
which
15-minute difference.
okay, yeah, which to me makes like no sense geographically,
No, no,
mathematically.
nothing really from this area makes any sense. Because it's really close and then it's super far and it makes no sense.
Nothing about New York makes much sense, to be honest with you.
No, no. I mean, basically, it's however you can get to the 95 the fastest is probably the best route.
Yeah, well, I mean, so at least that goes to City Field, and I think regardless, even if it wasn't CT and would have saved us, the long trip, I think ultimately it's a better decision for it to be there, versus really anywhere else if Yankee Stadium's unavailable. That's probably where we get the biggest pop of fans outside of Yankee Stadium, and everybody. I think Blue City Radio tweeted the GIF of Matarita with another playoff game at City Field, which I guess we'll never get past that as a community, and that's something that we obviously bring up every single time we play there. But it's good to get more fans out, and potentially with the rumors during the season, the Queens is where they're looking to go permanently. So I guess start building a fandom there that can still grow, I guess, more than it has.
Yeah, I mean, first I just want to say hopefully they don't send out a tweet and not an email or anything like that the day before that there's not going to be parking there. Let's hope that there's parking. And two, the minute that they decided to change that to City Field and it was round one and it's the playoffs, I sent you that text just saying that I don't know that I can go. My PTSD will not allow me. Um, and yeah, it's just it does give you that flashback to way back when Matarita made that horrendous tackle.
What a
But
different world that was.
different world as a team, different opponent. altogether, and so yeah, I think we're gonna be all right.
I mean, what are your thoughts on the matchup? Because I think, obviously Inter Miami has Pozuelo now, who historically has owned us in every which way whenever he faces us. And then, if we want to buy into that narrative where when a team is fighting for somebody, they do better, and you have Gonzalo Higuain, um, I mean, basically ending his career. I guess I don't know if it's club career or what the World Cup might look like for a guy like that. I would assume he's probably not stealing minutes from too many people on his national team. But that's definitely something that can be rallied around for Inter Miami. And he hasn't, he last time we played them, he was obviously put away in a pocket and forgotten about. But after that, he kind of started to warm up, hitting multiple free kicks and stuff like that. So he's a weapon that can appear.
Yeah, I mean he was somebody that we were kind of laughing at the point of us playing them the last time, and if it was the Inter Miami of back then, I'd be sitting here saying we have a easy first round. We're into the into the next round. Who can we possibly be playing next? Um, but this is a team that's turned it around. They started scoring goals. Higuain started scoring goals. He started doing what we remember him doing for all those years at Napoli and Juve and all those places. So I think they're a very dangerous squad, and they have a lot to play for. I think we just have more to play for. I think the home field advantage is going to be the difference. City Field should be loud and it should be packed, even for a Monday. And yeah, I'm excited. I could see us winning by a pair of goals.
I was hoping because I know the only reason that we got a Monday schedule, I know the rest of the teams are playing on the weekend, was because we got bounced out of RBA so that Red Bull could have their game. But I was kind of hoping that this City Field reschedule would also come with like a date reschedule to make it easier on I think everybody to make it out there. Obviously, we've seen turnouts for like the CONCACAF Champions League and stuff like that on those midweeks. Late kickoff, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. On weekdays, that's extremely tough, especially if you're trying to get the family out there. These are a lot of different people that can fill seats that I feel like may have the inability to go. So I am hoping that it'll get pretty loud. Obviously the main supporters are definitely going to be there and be loud, and hopefully, be that 12th man really.
Yeah, I mean, with that field being so much more intimate, I feel like NYCFC is going to be smart about it, and they're going to pack that inner right off the field, those first levels, and make it so that at least the people that are there can be heard. I'd hope so at least. And so I don't know. I don't see it being anything but a great atmosphere, even if it's not the most family friendly time. We're not gonna have that luxury until, of course, they decide where our fate is and where we build really like the base of this franchise when we do get a stadium.
Yeah, I think probably the stars of Inter Miami will drag some extra people out too that maybe might not even be fans of either team. And I don't think we have to. I'm not trying to duck on like Inter Miami fans or anything. I don't think there's many of them. But like traveling to the game, I think also they're probably going to be pretty. Will be favorited, I think, pretty heavily. Like I would assume that many people are probably expecting us to win this game, and I'm hoping. I don't think we ever have an issue with being expected to win a game and actually winning it. So I'm hoping that isn't something that like rears its head as we like head into these playoffs, because we've definitely been for a few months now. Ever since Ronnie and Tati leave, like it's been an underdog story, really.
Yeah, I mean nobody's really expecting much from us in these playoffs. I think not that we're written off in any sense, but um, you know we're back at that point where we're kind of those people that end up winning majority of the weeks and aren't really talked about, and they're kind of the third fourth tier story that nobody's really talking about, kind of those silent assassin type of that type of team. And I personally like it that way. I don't want to be in the headlines. I don't want people to be talking about us. I want us to show up, smack people in the mouth, and leave. That's really all I want from this team.
Where does your comfort level with Cushing lie now? I think I read somewhere that we actually finished with a higher point total than we did last season, which almost seems like an impossible thing to have actually happened, but like I'm pretty sure that is the case. And obviously we've had this bounce back now, and I think in a lot of ways he's like managing with confidence, which I'm not sure. That was one of our gripes and the fans' gripes with him is he sort of looked unprepared and just didn't have that fire when we did see him on the sideline. Didn't seem like he kind of had things under control. So I think that's totally taken a U-turn.
Yeah, no, I think I mean, he's more confident. And my confidence in him. I mean, realistically, it's the same. I'm not gonna jump like I didn't majorly jump ship when the results were poor. I'm not gonna take a few wins and blow that up and try to over exaggerate it. It is what it is, and we are what we are. Not to be, generic, but that just is what it is. And we're at the point now, luckily, where each game is the last game, and so hopefully he uses that as the fuel to get this team to do what he wants. That at the end of the day is what's going to matter. Finishing with more points than last year. Not to be Coach Joe, but a lot of that's on Ronnie. Ronnie set us up in a great place to finish well, and so I'm not really giving too much credit of that to Cushing, especially when a lot of points were dropped under him. So
Yeah.
my confidence in him, it's about the same.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel the same. I mean, obviously in our last episode we talked about sort of the banter around like the Red Bulls thing, and I think that kind of won me over a lot more towards Cushing, and obviously some of the results that we've had has helped the most. But I think both of us still kind of lie in the same area where we're like, he's the guy for now. There's really nothing that anybody can do about it. So like, let's get behind him and hope for the best, really, because that's all you can do. And luckily, it started to pan out. I'm glad that every game is not like us in a post game spaces with all the boys on Twitter, like just like losing minds really for so long. Like this I think has been a much easier month for a ton of NYCFC fans, and um I'm just excited for the playoffs. I mean, it's been a long time since we've been in them, obviously last year, and I don't know. I think I hope that we can make a little run.
It's funny because this time last year when we were recording, and we're kind of you know we're talking about how far do you think this team can go, and what are you happy with? Are you happy with 2 wins? Are you happy with one? Getting past the first round, and I jokingly go, no, I think we can win it all. I think we can go all four. And
Yeah.
little did we know the trip that we'd be on. At this point, um, I could see 2-3 wins out of this team. Genuinely, I could see that. I could see them playing for the man next to them and the man that went down, whoever that is, at that time. And I could see the next man up coming together and fighting for a spot and a permanent call up for next season, or a trip away, whatever it is, whatever they're fighting for. I could see that happening. Um, I can't imagine this team winning less than 2 games.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think it's going to matter a lot, who the opponents end up being. Um, I'd like to say that when we're at our best, like there's no team in the league that's going to compete with us, but unfortunately we do have like this issue of consistency. So I'm kind of in the mind frame like hopefully we can dodge Philly like in the Eastern Conference final. That would be ideal. Hopefully we can do our best to dodge Montreal as well. Although I I'm not like totally bought into the Montreal thing, and maybe that's just because they've been doing what they're doing like so quietly. Like I don't think anybody in the league like has expected this from them, and then it almost still doesn't feel real that out of nowhere they've just become not a powerhouse, but I mean they finished second in the league. That they're a good team. Um, and then if by some miracle, I guess I'll call it, and please tell me I have the worst take by calling it a miracle if we end up in the final, because I'm cool with that if we're in the finals. But hopefully we get a team, and I'll add to all of that is like if we do get the good teams, then maybe potentially it's better because we won't have the people telling us that our cup wasn't real for whatever
Yeah,
reason. You know what I mean?
I was just gonna say that. I would almost say that I want Philly. I want Philly, and I want to beat them to bury that hatchet to say, oh, you faced our COVID club. Like you guys didn't go out and party or whatever you did to get COVID together. Um, but I want to bury that hatchet finally of like that's the only thing that's they keep nagging at it. Oh, you faced our B team. You faced our B team. Blah blah blah. Well, your A team should have been more responsible. I
Dude,
can't say that enough.
that game is gonna have, if that game it happens, like there's just go it just feels like there's gonna be too much on the line in terms of like banter, and like it's like beyond like proving that we're good this playoffs. It's like also putting that nail in like last year's playoffs that like we
Yeah,
did deserve it.
we don't
Uh,
have Tati anymore, so you're not facing our full team anymore.
yeah, I mean Sans is gone. The
Exactly.
Keaton, potentially might not be at full health. Alfredo not at full health. It's Tavon who let's we are the Tavon preachers. Let's say like last year we always bring it up, that 4 game playoff stretch. Tavon out of nowhere. There were times where Ronnie was sitting Tavon to play Sands at right back, Acevedo at right back, because Tavon was in the regular season not stepping up and playing the way that was demanded of him to do what he did, and then for whatever reason he gets thrown in that first round of playoffs, and the rest is history. Like
Never gets off
literally
the field again.
the boy from the Bronx like writes like literally a dream, which is that's what you have to do. All of them are a part of writing like a dream like that.
Yeah, and I could see it happening again. Tinnerholm coming in and being the guy for the playoffs, putting his body on the line. That could be it. Um, it could be Kevin O'Toole having to start left wing because Talles is down.
He's been crazy, O'Toole.
Who's been crazy, and he comes in and scores all the goals that get us far in the playoffs, or dare I say another cup.
Yeah.
It could be any of those things.
Yeah.
And so like you said, I'm massively excited for it. But at the same time, I don't have stress about it. Just knowing how difficult it is to repeat, especially
That'll
like
come.
yeah,
Yeah, half an hour before kickoff, the
yeah.
stress will come.
I'll be driving home like shaking,
Yeah.
trying not to crash. But yeah, I mean, I just don't have it because it's like it's so difficult for a team to repeat in this league that you know the pressure really isn't on us, and I hope we take that and run with it.
Yeah. I mean, in closing, I'll say for Inter Miami, I don't want to put a score prediction down or a winner prediction down, but I do think there's going to be goals. I think both teams are probably going to score. Um, I think you're right that the home field advantage feels like it may be the difference between the two. Um, and yeah, I mean, I'm just ready for kickoff. I think even the more that we talk about it now, although we're a week out, it's starting to like materialize that it's real. Like we're really at the playoffs again.
Yep.
I think we've obviously been like super busy with moving and stuff, and like I feel like typically in my like normal life, NYCFC makes up like most of my free time, or like if I'm like driving or just at home, I'm thinking about the team or like different things like that. And we've had more like real life stuff taking that time up instead. So I'm not sure at least I've fully digested that like the next game we're playing is like the playoffs. Like that's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean we've kind of had too many that's crazy things to digest in the past week and a half, for one human to really deal with, especially dude, we're like 20, 25, and you're not much older than me. like
Although you would say way different in the group chat, but that's all
I
right.
mean, anybody watching is probably like, that dude's 45 and he's 25. But nah, this is not the fighter and the kid. We are really like a year apart. Um, but yeah, we've just had too many things to really digest. And you're right. When you sit back and look at it, and you're like, yeah, this is the playoffs. This is it. I mean, this is when everything that you worked for all season, every single episode we've recorded, every emotion that we've felt, every game
Every
we've
tweet.
watched, every tweet, it all comes to this. This is what matters the most. And I just hope this team goes out and puts on a show for us and every single fan, everyone driving to the stadium, everyone bringing their kids. Um, just put on a show for us.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to wrap it up. I mean, obviously, if you guys don't follow us at Post 90 Pod on Twitter, that I you could set the over under on tweets during that playoff game at like I don't even know, like
25.
20. Yeah, I was gonna say 20, 30. So like we are active on Twitter. That is the spot. You would have known about the move. You would have known about when we went to Charlotte and some images from that and stuff following along on our trip to away days and stuff like that. And then obviously, like I said, the live tweeting I think is one of the better moments, and you can always tweet at us and like have a conversation. I think
Yeah.
that's a cool part too, to share your opinions, and we might come on here and like talk about exchange. We do all the time exchanges that we have on Twitter, because I think a lot of people bring different and interesting opinions to share and like dive deeper into in conversation on Twitter like all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's our favorite part of this whole thing, and recording these episodes for you guys and talking. Um, our favorite part is when we get mentions, just asking us questions or trying to have, a conversation, or we're at a game and somebody's like, hey, like wants to come over and talk about the game with us. It's all interaction and being a part of a community, and you know, hopefully we are in some way a key to the Twitter NYCFC community for you guys, and that's really all we want to be.
Yeah. I mean, that is episode 81. I think we have some days ahead of us, realizing that this playoff game is about to happen.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of time to think about that. We have a lot of time to think of how we want to build this studio that's coming up.
Yeah. We're in the
So
lab on the studio business, so
when the studio drops, just know we put everything into it. You may have a duct tape episode if something crazy happens or something like that. It may be something similar to this. But we'll be back to our normal video quality, audio quality, everything like that. And you guys will see us on Twitter. So follow us anywhere you get a podcast, and follow us on Twitter to just keep up to date with us and talk to us and be just tapped into the NYCFC community. I appreciate you guys watching this far.
for sure, yeah. That this could be a long one. So if you're around, then you know,
Respect.
you
Tweet
know,
at us.
yeah.
Tweet at us.
We'll see you guys.
Tweet at us and say new studio, and we'll send you a sticker or something.
Maybe we'll, yeah. That's it. I mean, we'll see you guys in 82.
All right. Peace.
Peace.